I wanted to make this quick video about a series of revelations I've been having about Christianity and how it's been pretty pervasive to our to the main crisis at hand that people have been talking about so much. Um, I was watching this Paul Vanderklay video, and he played a clip from when it was Mary, I think that was her name, Mary and Viveki and another young guy talking, and she made this point about how Christianity is sort of suffering from the corruption it's been under for so long. And that's something I've been thinking about for a while. I say talking because I've been making private recordings that might get edited and released. Who knows? But I wanted to mention this issue of corruption in Christianity because it is very much a real thing. And I think what plays into the narrative, this bigger narrative, is at the same time that people who are devoted Christians throughout their whole life are learning about this, learning this message, they are also dealing with the history that Christianity has. You know, it's very bloodstained. So that's why this idea of the Redeemer is so huge with Christianity, particularly, with everybody especially, but European history is very much bloodstained, especially at the hands of using Christianity as their flag and justification for doing so, that they're so-called helping all these, I see it a lot today in these pseudo white supremacist arguments online where the rest of the world should be grateful for the invasion and conquest by the Holy Roman Empire. And then now there's the pushback being, you Europeans should be happy to receive this influx of immigration because they're gonna, erase you, or it's quite a genocidal view. I don't believe I don't think we should be genociding anybody. I suppose the issue, well, that's a whole other thing. But back to Christianity, it is a big lie. We can't deny that. The Bible's been translated a dozen. Not say it doesn't. It's been translated 1,000 times over 1,000 years, and it's been exclusively in Latin language. This. I think the problem is that the Christianity and Western civilization hasn't reduced. The fact that Christianity has been taken over by the Roman Empire, or what's the word, subverted by the Roman Empire allegiances, is just it can't. It's not really a comparable. I don't say comparable like that. Maybe what's what I'm looking for? I don't know. It doesn't really fit well together because of the histories that have been played out. I got baptized recently. So Christianity, the idea of the Redeemer is very huge to this, because I think I'm pretty sure the Europeans understand, you can't ignore the history when the rest of the world is living proof of the history that the Europeans, of what they did. But so I think that's why white Christianity, I guess I would say it like that. Like white Christianity is very big about this redeemer quality and being saved from the prison of our sins or whatever. I think this concept of original sin um, comes out of that a little bit, where they know they're responsible uh, for harm across the world, for killings. You know, I mean, literally, the Romans killed Jesus and then took over Christianity. I mean, it in that consciousness, it has to find a redeemer outside of itself. Like I remember, when I was thinking about this, I had an intuition, um, or a memory rather, when I was going to my church in North Carolina, and the pastor was getting emotional. He was talking about his son, and I remember just saying out loud, "God forgives," you know, and I just now understood that even more deeply. Like, you know, like even yeah, the moral, one of the biggest morals in Christianity is forgiveness of each other and of our sins. But it just hasn't played out the way it should have across the world, obviously, considering you want to come bring me you come and force religion on people and then say forgive me for doing this. uh it it, it creates this, yeah, it doesn't create like a good dynamic psychologically, from what I can tell. I think this is why we end up in a lot of these broken logical areas from when we're looking from a Christian perspective, because you kind of have to recognize your own, just the whole of Christianity. You know, you can't separate things out of it. You know, like the way people argue about the Bible, you know, you can't just cherry pick whatever. So we can't cherry pick history. It's not woke to recognize that, you know, certain things happened throughout the past. It's woke to use those things as propaganda. We should not be propagandizing the issues that Christianity has, you know, and that modern society has, or you know, take those sins of the past and use them as some kind of flag. I'm probably sitting really low on the camera, but whatever. So in trying to, like, there's this, like, I think the problem with this Western civilization is that, like, it can't stand on its own, because it's like, we need a redeemer, but redemption is also like self-destruction in this way. You know, like, I think Western civilization is not going to survive on this. It's not going to survive on this method. You know, of kind of, it's still like it's still kind of it's cherry picked itself throughout history. You know, I mean, the winners write the textbooks or whatever, or yeah. So, like, we can't avoid the fossil DNA we have about what's happened throughout time, throughout time on Earth. I mean, I think we've forgotten a lot of history about how much time it actually passed on Earth. But I don't have that on my phone. So essentially, yeah, the forgiveness, and redemption out of Christianity, it doesn't work for anybody, because it just doesn't get you out of the cycle of what happened within the realm of the Roman Empire and Christianity. So standing on this civilization that's built on this foundation. Because now you're the white Christians are now realizing, like for a good chunk of time, up until the beginning of 1950s. I mean, yeah, as recently as the 1950s is when like people really started to realize, oh, I probably shouldn't treat people who are melanated and greatly outpopulate me as some kind of non-human, or think of myself as more human than someone else. That's white supremacy. That's the game of white supremacy that's underlaying a lot of this, or just all of this. So there's the only way to escape it is to understand it, come to terms with it, and speak openly about how we can actually fix these problems in the world. Like, people talk a lot about reparations and stuff like that, but the fix isn't only a material thing. It's very much a spiritual thing where it has to be forgiven on a mass scale. But we have to forgive, I mean, of course, but love is forgiving each other, and both being receptive to that. I mean, it doesn't, like, people, I've been seeing this a lot, saying like you can forgive someone without reconnecting with them. Like, yeah, you can, but how would they know if you've forgiven them if you don't at least maybe tell them, or if you're not constantly putting that energy out there of forgiveness and love? Then the other person will never receive that energy if you don't genuinely mean it. And they will have to also notice in their own lives how they're being forgiven for the things that they've done. It's very much bring attention to everything around you, and things that synchronize. I mean, even little things. So, anything else I want to mention on this topic before I end this little video? But I think everybody, I believe everybody's redeemable. I mean, except for people who are traitors. Like, I said this to I was going to mention this as well. Like, I said this to my son the other day. There's no mercy for traitors. And that just came out, like, so deeply in that moment. Because I was telling him about, not being a liar, and you betray others when you lie to them. Or at least if you lie at the very core of your being, where, like Judas did, like, the ultimate betrayer. It's like, you're gonna look me in my eyes and tell me, you love me, and then betray me? I mean, there's no mercy for that. Because at that point, when you're lying so boldly to another person, you're lying to God, because you're lying to the vow and the oath that takes place between you and this other person, and also the divinity within y'all that connects to the ultimate divine. And when it comes down to the hereafter, I suppose, or the spiritual realm, that treachery is not going to be returned back into the cosmic circle, because in reality, all these religions are all pretty much wrong, because in reality, when we leave our physical bodies, we're supposed to be returning back to the divine, or we go back to the divine and we come back out, or we go through these circles of whatever before we can get to the divine. But that it still remains within us, because we're all part of the same spark, But anyway, but when you're this deeply sinful, I suppose, or evil. Yeah, I'll use that. So when you do those kinds of evils, that turns you completely away from everything. It's treachery, and there's no mercy for traitors. That's why Lucifer's in the frozen of the center of the earth, because God doesn't want. I mean, not to say that God doesn't want anything to do with him, I suppose, but it would be infecting the greater consciousness. And that's our problem on earth, is that we're not enhancing the global consciousness of things by being too individual and being too isolated. And we should be trying to love each other and forgive each other and find redemption for each other and with ourselves, so that way we can return to the divine all together, and we can repair this wound that's been festering in our solar system for a long time. So, yeah, I think that's it on that note.